Oh, wait, where did I put my lucky rabbit's foot? Hi, welcome to the Lucky Rabbits talk show with Mason.
Hi.
And me, Prue. We're doing a quick kind of episode in between interview episodes. We wanted to just kind of have chats, break it up, make sure that we're talking about our trip and everything we're doing, and I love that our legs are like mirrored. And just kind of get a chance to catch up and have a casual chat. We're not really trying to do anything too big production or hardcore, so things are staying pretty casual, which I think I kind of like, honestly. Mason has really hit a shy groove, so he's kind of moving towards just editing, which is completely fine. I think we don't want to burn you out at all.
Yeah. I find the further we get into this, the less and less I have to talk about. So.
Which is fair. I mean, any given day, you aren't too much of a talker, so...
No. Not my forte.
Till it's just us, then I get to see his bright side. We have a couple things we want to talk about. The first thing is the interview that we just did, which was amazing, with Lisa Reinhart of North Star Energy Healing. That was one that you definitely tapped out pretty early on. So, I mean, when it comes to, like, reading conversations and spiritual stuff, I think there's just no shame in Mason tapping out, really. If there are people that you know, I think you agreed. There's certain people that you already are more open with, that you're, like, excited to talk to. So there's no pressure or anything. Yeah, definitely. How did you feel about the interview with Lisa?
It was alright. I tapped out pretty early and just went over there and read, so I wasn't paying attention too much, but...
To be fair, Lisa and I...
Yeah, you seem to have a really good talk with her.
Lisa and I definitely are both chatters, so we chat, and it's nice, you know what I mean? Sometimes, I know for me, I'm a yapper. I almost had a hard time letting her talk, which isn't the best way to be as an interviewer, but hopefully I'll get better at it. The next thing we wanted to talk about, though, was the fair that we went to and the road trip that we took. It was a long drive.
Yeah.
It was a long drive, and it was a short stay. We stayed overnight. It was like a 5-hour drive.
Almost 6 hour.
Yeah, both ways. So that was a lot. We've luckily not run into any issues with the car other than running out of windshield wiper fluid, which was a little bit funny.
It happens. In the winter, with the salt and the sand and whatnot, it attaches to your windshield and you end up running out of fluid more than you would at any other point.
Yeah, it came to a point we had to find a rest stop, and it was like a 20-minute way, and we were like getting kind of white out, and it got to the point where, like, when we got splashes, that was when we were trying to windshield so that
the cars in front of me as a backsplash to keep my windshield clean.
Which I guess good tip if you're ever in that situation. It does kind of work
if you have a water bottle.
Yeah,
that would work too, but I don't really want to pull over.
Yeah, I was gonna say, there was no shame in pulling over it if you wanted me to hop out and wipe things down, though. The drive was really long. Luckily, once we got there, the fair was really small, and at first we were like, oh man, are we, like, imposing? Is this big enough? We were gonna record, but it definitely wasn't the right environment to record, and it turns out that we wouldn't have been able to record anyway, which is completely fine. We definitely got to talk in the last video. If you go through our YouTube, we have the road trip videos, which have been really cool to make. We lost a lot of the footage on that last drive just because I have an older iPhone and it's really fighting me on this trip.
We're using Dropbox to transfer videos back and forth, and it's just not working out very well.
No, we have limited storage, and Dropbox itself is a really slow upload. We had enough storage for all the videos I tried to put up, and it uploaded like 30 of them, and then there were like 30 others. So unfortunately, if you do watch the road trip one, we miss a lot of, I think, like the Toronto footage.
Yeah, the Toronto footage is not in there. The footage about the windshield is not in there.
Yeah, and then there was also a couple points where I took the camera and kind of gave updates that didn't make it in there. Because there were moments where I was talking about how beautiful, like, the agricultural land that we were going through was, because it gets very urban, rural, urban, rural.
Yeah, there's a lot of like farmland and small towns in between each city,
which
like,
are
on the way to the city, which is a great layout.
yeah, and it really is beautiful. It's beautiful. I will say all that open land and all of that beautiful landscape. I just the whole time, I kept thinking, with everything that Trump is saying America wants to do to Canada, I just really hope it doesn't happen because it would really ruin the landscape because I think it's about gutting for resources, frankly. That didn't make it in, but honestly, I shouldn't. I'm trying not to pull too much like political views in, so that's decent. There was a rant about me feeling a little angry too, because I don't use public bathrooms, and these road trips have been really difficult for me. But I know that in the States, it's literally dangerous for my life to go into either bathroom. And in Canada, I'm trying to just be really respectful, and I know that the overall view is the same as in America, where there just aren't really facilities that are meant for me. So I just kind of have to hold it, and I'm debating with myself really about the ethics of that. But it is what it is, and I want to stay safe. It's really, I want to say that it's about respecting other people, but it's about me understanding that there are dangerous people in both rooms who would hurt me no matter what I did. So that video got dropped out, but again, just skating by politics stuff. I mean, that one's more about my life than politics, but it is political apparently. The readings that we got were great. I'll let Mason talk about his reading first.
That was really good. I got a Reiki reading, I believe. What she did was I just did like a quick 5-minute one where she opened up 2 of my worst chakras.
Yeah.
Which was my mental and my heart. My mental was really bad. What she used to test it didn't even like leave my body.
Did she use tuning forks?
No, I didn't do that reading.
She was just kind of using her hands?
Using her hands and calling upon some archangels. Gabriel, Michael, and...
You said Raphael, right?
Raphael.
Yeah, which is cool because Gabriel and Raphael came up a lot in my readings that I got. I got my readings with a man who we hopefully are interviewing tomorrow, which is really cool. I mean, I'm really excited. A lot of these people were really sweet people, really interesting people, really open to the idea of talking with us, and like sharing their stories. And I think my biggest goal with this whole thing is to just hold space so that people who normally in their day-to-day career have to kind of stifle themselves to read for other people, I want them to be able to share their stories and have a space where their thoughts, feelings, and experiences are memorialized, because very seldom do these really interesting people get to talk about their really interesting experiences in a way that can be brought to the normal people, you know what I mean? People less spiritually inclined people.
Yeah, you find a lot of people telling other people about their experiences, and it's just like, it's not captured. It's not kept.
I mean, and even in just a couple of those quick conversations with those people, I heard some really interesting stories. Some of them had stories about traveling. One woman had a great story about how she like kind of traveled through each element in a trip. I don't want to drop their names just because I'm not sure who's really willing to work with us yet, if they were just being polite or if they're excited. You know, I got 14 business cards and I only sent out 5 emails because I really don't want to be pushing people or pressuring people. And so we'll see how those first few interactions go, and then I'll keep reaching out. I also don't literally want to be spam, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I was going to send out an email to everyone, and I was like, I hate mass emails, so I'm not going to do that. I'll talk about my reading, though. It was really interesting. He did a tarot card reading for each 3 months of the year, and then in the immediate past, present, and future. And again, those angels came up, like angelic energy came up, which was really comforting. I think on the Christian side, being LGBT, it's really easy to feel disconnected and like it's not for us. And so when angels and that kind of thing come up in spiritual circles, and like there's more of a welcoming feeling to it, I know for me it's a big comfort, if not kind of at opposition with how I feel like organized religion feels about us on any given day. We talked about animals and numbers. Yeah, I won't go too far into it, but basically, the flavor of my reading was if you see danger, move out of the way and fight for your rights, kind of. Stand up for what you believe in, which are both messages that I feel like really resonate with me right now.
Hey, that's all I've ever really known.
Yeah.
That's you.
Bless. The rabbit Wolverine. I want to talk really quick about my astrology forecast that I've been doing on Instagram. I don't want to put them on YouTube. I don't have a TikTok or anything, but I've been using Alabe to run the most direct transits that the planets are making each day, and each night I drop a video. I've also been using Solar Fire, so I talk a little bit about aspect patterns. I don't do too much of the North Node in Chiron, and I talk about one aspect for each planet, even though I know that usually they're forming a lot of aspects. I'll talk about the multiple aspects if they're in a pattern, but I have to be able to do them every day, so I try to keep them doable, frankly. But I've been excited. I think how many have I done?
Like, you said it was your 10th. I think you've done 11.
11? Yeah, and I'm gearing up to do one after this. I just did a tarot card reading that we're going to tack on to the end of this. We're planning for that interview tomorrow. I have a couple people I'm in contact with. It's turned into a really busy trip, and I'm hoping it all pans out. I'm hoping that people really participate and join us, you know? The astrology forecast I'm excited about, so check me out on Instagram, prudent_readings. They're all in my reels. I remove them from my profile grid, but if you want to check out the reels, then they're all in there. It's just like, it's like getting a free personalized horoscope, but for the general public. I run them for Portland, Maine, but that doesn't mean they're exclusively for Portland, Maine. The sky is above all of us. There's just slight differences here and there, depending on how far away from us you are. The next thing we want to talk about, though, is our future plans. So I feel like we kind of touched on that in the beginning, what we want to do here. Do you have anything else you want to say about that? Other than that, occasionally you want to tap out and just do the editing?
Yeah. Just that.
I keep thinking, like, every podcaster experience like this takes someone on the back end doing editing and maybe like fact checking, and that usually, don't worry, you're fine, rip it apart. I've been ripping out every page because I write down the forecast and then I tear it out so I can compare them all to each other.
This is true.
That is a forecast right there. What was I saying?
I don't even remember.
Valid. We'll move on. Future podcast plans are basically just, we'll chat with you guys in between interviews, and then during interviews we're going to ask people pretty simple questions. I'm going to let people talk as long as they want to, let the discussion kind of go on, but I mainly am looking at 3 questions, which is just, what kind of practice do you run? What are your spiritual experiences as far as growing up and kind of coming into your abilities or gifts or recognizing things? And then I really just want to make sure that everyone knows how to get readings from these people, because I'm a firm believer that you shouldn't have one reader. You should be going to different people. You should be getting different perspectives. You should be going to people who feel both like you and unlike you, or
opposite.
Yeah, opposite you. Just make sure that if you are going out for information, you don't just seek it from one person or one place, or you'll get a lot of the same information. Yeah, beyond that, the future of the podcast is really up in the air, depending on how you guys like it and how you feel. So far, I will say that the engagement has been, I'm glad that we've gotten the engagement we've gotten, but it is very small, and it's not a problem, especially starting out, because everything's still really, look at the video quality, it's still pretty raw.
Yeah, it's a work in progress still.
which means anyone who's with us now, I hope you stay with us and we'll appreciate you even more. I do want to mention my current projects. I haven't been really pushing this one, but I'm developing a video game that's about witchcraft. It's about being a millennial. It's about, ironically, it has a big focus on what it is to like be a witch in America, but it plays off the tropes of like Bewitched and Sabrina the Teenage Witch. And you can find it on itch.io. There's a couple links on my socials. If you find my link tree on Instagram, it's on there. I'm really proud of what I'm doing with it, and I'm going to be updating it. I think during this trip is the next update. So far, it's there's a lot of gemstones that you can change the color palettes with that'll have effects. There's a couple cute technology things, like I play on like technology from the 90s with a magical twist. It's all pixel art. It's literally like a Game Boy Color game is the format. And you can play it online for free, but if you want to be able to save it and come back to it and have like an actual file that you can play on your phone, then there is a small price to download it. I can't remember how much, but it is not.
It's like $1.
Yeah,
or something like that.
And if you pay that, then you'll be able to download every update and update your game. I'm not quite sure how patching works. On itch.io, they use something called Butler, and I'll have to figure that out as I get further into things. But for right now, it'll be updated pretty soon. There's like a whole town. You can ride your broom. There's a whole magical area in your closet. I might make a video about that. But again, we've got a lot going on right now between the forecast, the podcast, and just in general being on a trip, really.
Yeah.
Mentally dealing with everything happening in the world. And then
tarot series.
Yeah.
Next.
Yeah, so I also am doing a digital series where I kind of explore the journey of the tarot cards and do that through self-portraits. I'm only 2 in. I'm working on my 3rd. So I've done the Fool and I've done the Magician. I did the Fool when I started my practice and I took a break. And once we got on the trip, I really finished out the Magician, and it felt like the right time. And right now I'm working on the High Priestess, but I don't rush them at all because I want to respect the process and understand and learn as I'm doing it, and like really dive into the symbolism. So maybe I'll give a couple previews on my Instagram. I need to but I need to do more than Instagram. We're looking at Blue Sky and a website called Medium. For a minute, I thought I was going to go back on Facebook, but the way they've changed their terms of service, it's just not for me. It's really...
TikTok's not going to be very viable for long.
In the United States, it is a ban, literally, on, like... It's a ban, but it's technically you can't...
It's just removed from the App Store, so you can't update it, you can't...
So it'll be kind of phased out probably. I wonder if they'll work with people and kind of make it a usable without updates. I don't know how possible that is.
It'll phase out eventually because it'll just lag.
Too much of a bummer, really.
Yeah.
I'll let you talk about our next potential trip.
Niagara Falls.
Yeah.
Which is where I've always wanted to go there since I was a kid. So I'm very, very excited about that. And the next fair is right next to it, which is Hamilton, Ontario, and we don't know quite yet if we're going to go to that one. We haven't really decided.
Yeah.
Guess if the mood strikes while we're down there.
We met a really cool guy. I think his name was... Oh, was it Charles or George? George. We met a really cool guy named George, and he was telling us about the different fairs that are happening. Hopefully he'll be a guest. He said that he was interested, and I'm really interested in talking to him about his practice. But he said that there were multiple fairs. He said that the like close-knit group of them that we met typically work together, but he said that about half of them are going to one here and half of them are going to one here. And so we've been meaning to look that up. We found the 3 events that we planned on going to online, and it turns out they're run by the same people, and so we're kind of tempted to go to other ones and see who else is hosting them. I definitely don't want to end up being a nuisance to anyone. We did make sure to get readings. and participate in like the actual fair, not just go and talk to people about being on with us.
Yeah.
We didn't mention it, but Mason got some of literally the most beautiful mala beads I've ever seen. Do you want to? Yeah, do you want to grab them? Sovereign Souls is this brand. So, I mean, just the energy of these people was amazing. This couple, and the man who made these really believes in what he's doing, and the energy of it is amazing.
Well, this is just for the video, but Spotify users, if you want to see them, go to the YouTube video. But there's carnelian, quartz, and obsidian in this one.
I'm so glad you remembered. That's
I
a
really
rutil,
like it.
and this is a rutilated quartz. I think it might be tourmalated. I
It's
can't
like a
quite
green
tell.
that's in it.
Yeah, and it's kind of metallic. So if it was rutilated, it would be metallic. If it was tourmalated, it would be black. Either way, it's a great stone, honestly. Yeah, I mean, it's beautiful. So they're prayer beads. So it's 108.
108.
108
There's
beads.
a knot in between each bead.
Hand knotted.
Hand knotted. I think his name was Govin. I could be wrong about that, but he said that it takes about 3 hours for him to make each one. And yeah.
And on their Instagram, there's videos of him making them out in nature, using sage. It seems like a really beautiful, sustainable practice.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm glad we didn't forget to talk about that. Yeah, so Niagara Falls, potentially Hamilton. It's a toss-up because, like, the reality of readings and the reality of going to these fairs is you want to talk to everyone. You want a reading I wanted a reading from so many people. And choosing just one person. I mean, I had to go home after the first day and do readings about the readings that I would get because I couldn't afford to talk to too many people. And it is a trip, so we have to kind of keep an eye on the budget. But supporting these people is really important to both of us.
Yeah.
And
Whether that's getting a reading or having them on our podcast, which would get them more traction on their websites and whatnot.
hopefully.
Hopefully.
Hopefully we're going to be able to build a great community. I know I have four more. Our first guest was from the States, 4 more people from the States, and then, like I said, we met 14 people here. If we even get to talk to like a portion of those people, then we've already done something really cool.
Yeah.
So again, tomorrow we're scheduled, and so we'll probably bring you this one, wait a day or two in editing, and then bring you the next one. Really excited. I think this is the point where we decided that we would go into the tarot card reading that I did.
Yep.
Which means we're pretty much done with you guys here. If you want a reading from me, I didn't say this last time, maybe? I have a website called prudentreadings.com. You can book there. Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. You just book, you pay online straight through there, and then we'll have a Google Meet. If you're doing a tarot card reading and you want to add a review where I type down everything and kind of put it in my notes and send it to you, then that's a tack on of $30. I was doing it for free for a while, and my mentors looked like they wanted to slap me across the face for offering it for free, which I guess
It's
is
a lot of work for doing it for free.
Yeah.
It takes you like 2 days to do.
I noticed that people both appreciated it and kind of ignored it. So to the people who appreciated it, I thank you. And to the people who ignored it, don't worry. It wasn't something that really you needed anyway, I think. What you take away from a reading more often than not is more important than everything someone said, or like the meat and bones. Because I was going through my Ultimate Tarot Guide and trying to add any information that I forgot. I mean, when you're really new at this, you're nervous. You want to do your sources, and you want to make sure everyone feels like they got their money's worth, and it's draining on you. It was draining on me, for sure. I've had like a little bit of a break. I've had a little bit of a break from my busy time last year, and that was like a good time to recalibrate how I was running things. I do synastry, I do natal charts. Those are also pretty detailed. Those ones have to come with reports, in my opinion. And so you get a digital copy. I was doing paper copies, but obviously unless you come to Ruby Manor for an in-person reading, which should start up again in February, I can't give you a physical copy. But I'll give you a digital file of it, and that's your whole natal chart broken down in the long form interpretations from Solar Fire, but also in short form simplified, kind of condensed texts that I generate for you guys. And then the in-person part where we talk if you have questions. If you don't want to read a review and you just want to hear it from someone, then usually an hour and a half or so is what I do with those. I think Sinistry readings they're an hour and 45 on my website, but sometimes potentially they're going to go over. It's really tough to time these things because I know how long it takes me to deliver them, but I can't anticipate how many questions people have. Or like how much they want to discuss things. Sometimes things come up in a birth chart reading and that's not a question. They just want to make sure that you know that resonates and bring up an experience and share it. And that's important for like the whole counseling kind of spiritual growth experience of a reading, but it also adds time. And so I need to account for client time. I don't want to go way over and then we kill extra time, but I don't want to not give people time to talk to me about what they're hearing. So if you want a reading, prudentreadings.com.
Yeah. Thanks for watching.
Nice. Love you guys. Alright, while Mason is out making dinner, I am going to start doing this reading. I'm going to do it before we record the podcast this time, and I'll let you guys know what time you can kind of skip to. I suppose if you already are here, then that's not helpful information. So I'm going to shuffle things up right now, and I think the question we're going to aim for is pretty broad. I don't normally do... I've been doing astrology forecasts, and I don't normally do tarot card readings for the general. But I think I'm going to do an in general Celtic cross for the month of January. And we'll see what comes up. We'll see how things go, and we can check back in on how things went at the end of January and take a look at these. I know it's pretty far into January, so we'll have a feeling for the flavor of the month while we're doing this reading. If I do more of these, typically I think the readings that I do are going to be episodes where Mason and I are talking and not as much when we have guests. But I'll try and do like a monthly reading for you during the podcast just because I appreciate listening and I appreciate the practice. So let's get started. I'm going to do a Celtic cross. This time I'm going to name the cards as I pull them because we might have listeners who aren't watching the video. And I want to make sure that they get a feel for what's going on too. So this is what covers us. It's our current situation. It is the King of Pentacles. What crosses us is the Queen of Swords. What crowns us is the Hermit reversed. What's beneath us is the Eight of Cups reversed. Again, we had that last time for 2025 in general. What came before us is the Hanged Man. What is before us is Justice. Judgment reversed is who we are. The Two of Cups reversed is home and business. The Tower is our fear. And the Queen of Cups reversed is our future on this path. Not exactly the brightest reading, but we do what we do. And we work with what we have to work with. And so let's get into a prudent reading on the month of January in 2025. If we look at the current situation, it's the King of Pentacles. The current situation, we are all focused on money, I think, especially on a higher level of like government and economy, so that makes sense. So our current situation is working on bettering finances. But what crosses us, what's the challenge to that, is the Queen of Swords in a challenge position. So we look at it upright and reversed. The Queen of Swords upright is leading kind of with conviction in a maternal, generally good way. But when it's reversed, which again in this position we look at the both sides, the Queen of Swords is about emotionally cold, kind of cruel. The word Bridget Esselmont uses in The Ultimate Guide to Tarot is bitchy, right? So our harsher side is really going to be what's blocking us moving forward financially, whether that's independently or on a larger scale. We look next straight to what crowns us, which I look at as the subconscious, which is the Hermit reversed. Unfortunately, the Hermit reversed is about cutting ourselves off, isolating ourselves, and not in a productive way. Were it upright, it would be more of a productive time alone introspection, but when it's reversed, we're looking at isolation to a detriment of ourselves. And that in the subconscious is informing how we're living our day-to-day life, which is the Eight of Cups. The Eight of Cups is what came before us in general in the 2025 reading. Oh, that's actually false. Sorry, the Eight of Cups is not what that was. But it is a similar flavor, right, of a reverse and leaving what we have, what's drained, leaving things behind and moving forward, even if it's a challenge emotionally. And so that time alone, which is really a destructive time alone, is causing us to feel like we need to leave things behind and feeling like things haven't gone our way or aren't serving us anymore. And so that informs that, but I look to the Hanged Man, which is the past, as kind of the reason that those things are going on subconsciously and consciously. The Hanged Man is literally about being hung out to dry, turning your back on others or having others turn their back on you. It's about feeling betrayed on some level, which absolutely would cause us to... It's kind of ironic that that cut off at the word cut off, but also a little bit annoying. Okay, right. So that feeling of being hung out to dry would absolutely make us feel like we needed to leave things behind and also kind of cause us to isolate. We're going to move straight into like the future conditions. So if this is the future, if we stay on the path in general, then this is the future conditions coming towards us. And so that is the Justice card. The Justice card, I mean, very straightforward, right? If we're on this track, at least that there's something coming, whatever caused us to feel hung out to dry, whatever this effort becomes, will be resolved through a feeling of justice, a feeling of completion through a cycle, an end that feels satisfying, really. Judgment is reversed, is what we are and how we're perceived. The Judgment card is, it's a representation of the rapture, right? The end. It's Gabriel blowing the horn. It's everyone coming back. It's kind of that feeling of, again, the end. It's literally a card of the end of the world, unfortunately, and that's how we are perceiving ourselves and being perceived as maybe not the cause of it, but it's what we feel like we're going through. It feels like the end of the world, which unfortunately we know, but where it's reversed, it's an ending that we don't feel like we're getting justice yet. It might be on the horizon, but we don't feel like we're getting it yet. The Two of Cups reversed is our home and work life, which is kind of goes back to that 2025 reading from the last episode with Mason and I, where I did a reading for, again, generally 2025 specifically for America. And that's that we aren't filling each other's cups. We're draining each other. We're hurting each other. It's causing us to be scared and frantic. And that's tearing us apart. If we look at, like, I mean, this is a very literal take on it, but, like, the two-party system, there isn't a cohesion. There isn't anything holding us together anymore, and we're at odds with each other, kind of tearing each other down emotionally. The hopes and fears that we have this January specifically are the Tower. The Tower is a really famous tarot card, right? It's all about shaky foundations. Something we need to look at with the Tower is that it is a disaster. It's a falling out. It's a destructive force, but it comes from the Tower itself being built on shaky ground. It comes from us not really building ourselves off of a productive, solid basis. And so in our hopes and our fears, we're really expecting disaster and preparing for disaster. I always say in this position that our hopes are our fears. So unfortunately, I think something to point out is that a lot of us have this anticipation of the end to the point where we're going to almost perpetuate it because we want it to be over with. We want it to come about so that we can deal with rebuilding off of a better foundation. And whether that's what we're afraid of or what we're hoping for, we really don't know. We're struggling with that. With the Queen of Cups reversed, it is the future position. The future is really mutable. It's changeable. It's something that we can work with, especially if we have this context to change course. But the Queen of Cups reversed is going to be, again, that feeling of being drained by each other, having our cups emptied, having no control over that emotion, losing kind of our maternal touch with things, which unfortunately it's a really clear outcome to all of this draining of each other and feeling like the world is ending and expecting and almost craving disaster. So again, it's something that we can avoid. And so we're going to go through and I'm going to do my little Vanna White tarot card tapping. And again, the first place we're going to look, I think the first place we need to look is over here at the Hangman. Unfortunately, it's not reversed. It's not something that we can unblock. We recognize what happened. We recognize where we're at. And it's not a great place. So acknowledging that is the first step. But taking subconscious responsibility for ourselves and being less destructive with ourselves in our moments alone is really going to help subconsciously. So if we tap it to really kind of look at what that energy would be unblocked, we look at each of us looking introspectively at ourselves more than being alone and cutting everything out. And this, hopefully, would stop us from really feeling like we're leaving in a bad position, we're leaving things behind, and it would put us in a more productive place to move forward. And instead of leaving behind things that will have a struggling time leaving behind, we'll leave behind things that we've recognized no longer serve us through introspection, and we'll be able to move forward more productively, even if these cups have been drained, even if we've hurt each other, even if there's a feeling of loss. Justice is coming. There's really nothing we can do. Luckily, the justice isn't reversed. It's not blocked. It's coming, and it should be somewhat fair, at least. With judgment, to unblock this, we're going to have to acknowledge that Tower feeling. We're being perceived as people who see the end coming, panic, freak out. And if we acknowledge that on some level we're hoping for that, we're building ourselves up for that, then maybe it's something we can't change, but it's something that we can move forward with more productively, right? I mean, the end of anything could be the beginning of a new cycle. Falling apart on a shaky foundation could be a chance to rebuild. And that justice and judgment, we have to hold hope that when justice is served, the judgment will be fair and we'll all be able to come out safely and feeling more fulfilled. If we focus on trying to not end the world because we're unsatisfied or crave the end and disaster, then hopefully this ending will be more positive, and we'll be able to hold ourselves accountable. And hopefully, with holding ourselves accountable, then in our families, in our relationships, in our work, in our home life, as a microcosm and a macrocosm, we'll be able to fill each other's cups. I mean, a lot of the resolution to these problems that we're dealing with are going to be fulfilling each other and not emotionally attacking each other, which is really difficult at this time when we see the end coming, we see disaster, and we know that there's some kind of justice that needs to be served that will be coming. But again, unblocking that emotional harm that we're doing to each other at home and at work, in all aspects of our life, should bring some kind of unison, and through that unison, hopefully the energy would be flowing better in those places. I can't tap the tower. Our hopes and our fears, unfortunately, there's nothing really that we can do to unblock that energy. We just have to acknowledge that it exists and make it more of a fear than a hope. A strange thing to say, but we should fear the disaster, not hope for it to come. And I'm thinking, hopefully, right, if we spend more productive time by ourselves introspectively, if we acknowledge the financial crisis that we're in, if we're kind and we facilitate our authority correctly, and we leave things behind that are no longer serving us through an acknowledgement that we can move forward better, and that emotion is able to flow more productively, more kindly, then that is where I feel comfortable tapping the future to unblock the general feeling of no longer taking care of each other. We need to have kind of our maternal instincts turned on and feel like we're fulfilling each other and being fulfilled, and in that we as a collective will feel more fulfillment, and hopefully, right, moving towards a future where we all are feeling more fulfilled will be a better end to whatever's coming. This is definitely a spread showing isolationism. This is a less frantic energy than what I've been getting astrologically, so maybe as we look through the month, things will be changing. But definitely this is an energy of calling for accountability and an ending. The ending right now, as of this month, for this is January, remember, the ending of this month might come about in a way that, I don't know, we already feel hung out to dry, right? It might come about in a way, though, that feels like the end of the world, unfortunately. But if we keep each other emotionally fulfilled, right, don't cut yourself off completely, because where the hermit is reversed is where we're cutting each other off emotionally, causing these blocks with each other. And hopefully spending more productive time alone and acknowledging that we can move away from things that are draining us will bring us to a place where we feel more fulfilled and we fulfill others emotionally, compassionately. We need to fix the course we're on, because the futures that have been coming up for this year, they're not serving us, and they're not going to be for the betterment of all of us unless we do something. I'm going to end it here. I'm sorry that this angle is a little bit clumsy. I use a ring light that's a stand. If you wanted to get a better look, I'll give you this. This is kind of our future if we unblock everything that we're struggling with. Unfortunately, I can't tap the Queen of Swords, but know that cold, calculating fight, that conflict, that conviction is going to have to be more productive than it is destructive if we even want to begin working out how to have a better, abundant, more cohesive future financially. I know, again, I was talking about this last night, is the astrological aspects are also reflecting emotion or economical struggles, and that's being felt everywhere. And so cutting into each other and fighting each other and draining each other is just not going to be the solution to that situation. I'm gonna take this off, and then Mason and I are gonna start recording the podcast after we eat dinner. I hope these help, and I like to give you guys an idea of the style of reading that I do and practice, really. So I love you all. Stick with fulfilling each other, not tearing each other down. Don't crave the ending, or don't crave disaster just because you feel it coming. It's going to make us all feel and perceive each other and ourselves as a disastrous end of the world situation, and we need to get away from that, whether it's through introspection or through whatever circumstances come that bring justice, right? I think we're all nervous, and I think that nervousness is fair, but make sure to take time to yourself and protect your peace.